and have sharing options. And I thought you should be able to claim the host. So we're streaming now, right? See ya.
Yeah. Okay, bye. All right, let's start. Let me share the screen. And wait, this one. Okay, did it work? I guess it worked. So I tried to compile some updates already, so it's easier to see what's going on, and then we can update stuff that didn't make it to this. I decided to split berry pickers and runtime updates into two, so we can have two separate updates, but we can still use this meeting for now. So, and we split it into done and in progress. So down on standards, we basically recorded a call with the community on Monday regarding the fungible token standard, and we discussed final items regarding the new standard that was in NEP 141, but now it goes into discussion, and we will finalize discussion there and eventually put it in Nomicon once this piece is finalized completely. Like we good with language and stuff like this, then we'll create a PR for the Nomicon. And some community members already started a new standard for account registration. So this is another piece of fungible token that allows to register an account by prepaying for the storage required for the account data in the contract. And there's some comments and discussion going in this particular NAP discussion. In education, we recorded a review of Rainbow Bridge contracts and design, and we'll publish it eventually. As for runtime, I added a PR to import new host methods to runtime WASM that allows to do a protocol upgrade. It basically just modifies the macro and exposes a list of features and protocol versions per feature that required for this host method to be available. And it's pretty simple to add new methods because we don't need to touch the macro and only need to basically expose, say, for example, protocol feature EVM, version EVM, and host name blah as before. So that will allow us to introduce new host methods. It still doesn't have the actual working method to add because that usually requires a few extra steps such as fees for the new method that needs to go into config, plus introducing a new feature. I was thinking to add a burn near method that we need for top level account registration auction. But for this, we actually need to expose burnt amount straight from the runtime up to the chain, I think, because
wait, what?
we do do have gas. Oh no, we do have token burns.
Yeah, I mean, you just add it to the balance burned amount, and then you
right.
Down.
Yeah, we do have. So it should be fairly simple change. So I'll work on this as an example to verify that this thing works. It will also need to add tests to verify that the contract that uses the CPI doesn't work before the protocol and works after a protocol with feature enabled. So there's what
and how does the SDK update, like how is the SDK update
SDK will
coordinated?
Oh no, I hope it didn't lose my discussion. So SDK update will have to go after a protocol is done.
Right.
And SDK is kind of like integration between near VM logic and SDK is somewhat behind because we don't have certain features and there's certain dependency on primitives that we cannot really publish. So there's work that is done by contract runtime team to split dependencies that we can publish this crate, and that crate can depend on we can depend on this crate by VM logic crate, which we need to depend on from near SDKRS for unit tests, I assume. Maybe not. Maybe we don't need it though. Yeah. Okay, to keep going, in progress, we have, I'm working on preparing a workshop for a conference in Russia for students. This is due to February 6th. And I'm building a contract there, and then I'll need to build a UI and later write an actual tutorial how to use it.
Eugen, which city is gonna be?
It's gonna be in Ijevsk, but it's gonna be online mostly.
Oh, epic!
I guess not really. Well, I will be online, but.
Is this a workshop at your university?
Yeah, no, well, in the same city, but different university.
Oh, I see.
What city are you in, Nikolai?
I'm pretty far away, unfortunately, from Ijevsk. I'm in St. Petersburg. So
but yeah, we can connect you in case you can answer questions when I'll go to sleep. So they rearranged the time. It's gonna be like 10:30 a.m. for them. So for me, it's gonna be 10:30 night or something like this. And after, like, it's gonna be 12 for me when the workshop ends. So I probably will go to sleep after this. If they need support, then they can ping you or ask it on the channels. And on Rust SDK, I should probably move it to Rust SDK. I synced up with Igor, who is working on our bounty for an STD, and he said that no STD support was blocked by a bunch of STD for tests in SDK. So I suggested to basically strip any testing functionality for now and just make sure to update near SDK so we can compile a contract and basically remove the unit tests requirements. And that will give us like very small contracts. Then we can use simulation testing that is separate, that allows us to basically test these binaries anyway. So if you rewrite everything without unit test towards only simulation test, which is cool, and this is the goal anyway, then we would have like no STD for small contract sizes on Rust. Soonish. So that's updates from us.
I have a question
Mike
regarding SDK Rust, if I can. So basically, we had a lot of breakage before last week, and I'm not sure how we whether we addressed them. So Borscht definitely is cleared, but is SDK currently completely working for us?
So we fixed I published just a patch that pins scene to the same version as near core.
Mhm.
And that was it. We like our repo
did we
might still be
confirm that
broken.
it works?
Yeah, I recompiled the like empty contract and without a log file. So basically, once I published this, I verified that it works, and it was basically just a temporary fix. We didn't touch Borsch. We didn't touch anything on this. Just one commit on top of the previous version.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't have any fixes, no new APIs, and we will need to publish a new version on the current SDK, but I'm not sure how deep is dependency problems there. So like, is the current version works with the like VM, like previous VM? It probably is. We cannot really publish the new VM logic from runtime yet. There's some amount of work. But then once we do, it has to be 3.0 because it's probably breaking. And we need to, then we can publish like 3.0 on the near SDK. I wish Argo would allow us to kind of like have temporary dry run. I don't know how we should experiment with this. Maybe we can do like publish some like temporary crate so we don't touch the production crates versioning. So we can verify that everything links correctly.
Mm-hmm. And regarding the VM runtime package, which I believe that is the place where the SYN and the CERDE errors, compilation errors stem from. Did we update, and who is owning that? Is there any plans to resolve the compilation errors due to use of private modules? Is there any ATA?
So it is, I think it's on near SDK, not on VM logic. And that's it's because we use SYN to like actually parse these macros. So well, yeah, we'll likely need to update it. Actually, I don't know why near core failed with the same SYN crate. Is this we do some parsing, or it was Borsch, or what was the on near core side?
Well, it was definitely Borsch, but since that is resolved, I still believe that I've seen the usage of SYN export and CERDE export modules, which became private.
Okay, we can take a look into this.
Yeah, near VM errors is using CERDE export, and chain network is using CERDE export, which is
it's probably
now
to generate a schema in the for like JSON RPC schema for errors. So that's why we use export, some macro. But it should be behind a feature potentially. Maybe it's not. It's like to regenerate JSON error schema, I believe.
Well, anyway, I believe we need to address that because it may fail tests. No, it's not behind the feature flag. It's just literally the force line in near VM errors librs. So it's not conditional. We use the imports, and I believe we can just replace them with some other imports. I believe it's just standard std, fmt error, and formatter. So it would be great if we, if somebody is taking care of it.
Okay, let's actually stop
new scene and
with
new
berry
Saturday.
pickers. Why Saturday is broken?
They are maintained by the same guy, and they decided to rename the private module they called previously expert, but and it was hidden from the doc, but still people were abusing it, so they decided to rename it to __private.
Cool. Genius.
And broke a lot of code. Yeah.
Okay, I'll stop sharing. I think either Bowen or Igor can present and give a runtime update for the transaction runtime team. Bowen, does it work?
Okay.
Or
I mean, I can. There is.
okay, let me stop.
Do you want to record this in another place, or because we have a Eng Sync where it's some stuff is also discussed there.
In this case, we can just mention it then verbally. If it's recorded somewhere else, then we don't need to like duplicate it.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, yeah, Igor is just mostly working on the change, the fix of receipt IDs. I think you reviewed the PR, right? And we'll start looking at some other issues like the storage usage, one that you also filed. And otherwise, I don't think there's much update.
Regarding my comments about the feature flags, you mentioned that there is some work in progress. Could you elaborate on that?
That's mostly documentation.
Okay. Yeah. But do you have a pull request already, or just sitting on your?
No, it's actually in some Google Doc.
I see. Cool.
Okay, let's actually discuss if there's anything that we need to discuss and think on stuff. I guess I can give another quick reiteration on like role of berry pickers to avoid confusion.
Sure.
And so I can summarize it as our goal is to fix and improve existing tools and existing features. So we trying to like minimize introduction of like new features. So like we don't really focus on this, but instead mostly focusing on improving the existing broken flows. So example of this is Rust SDK. We don't try to like introduce some new feature. Like burn near is, for example, kind of out of scope as a main priority, but something like handling of a callback from a promise is stuff that we can work on. So a callback can fail, or like the promise can fail. In this case, near SDK panics at the callback, which is not the desired behavior. Instead, we want to, for example, parse a result and give you a result so you can easily handle the result of the promise. Or our high-level promise API near SDK-RS is also something that we look into. There's still some work left from the previous quarter, such as upgrading fees on runtime that we'll complete. But also, if it's like very technical that requires my knowledge of runtime, I also doing it. So for example, this import methods through the protocol feature upgrade is kind of just to unblock some external contributions. So one of them is like adding a curve, like alt bn 128 curve for zero pull, It's like very long outstanding PR there that was blocked by protocol upgrade. And
actually, again, I still think that this extension mechanism through the protocol different API surface depending on the features, I think it's going to be pretty fragile. So maybe we can have something more like runtime driven, and so that we in the runtime just those all functions which are ever exposed are considered like mandatory, but everything which is optional and only available conditionally, why can't they go through a single extension interface, and this extension interface can behave differently depending on a configuration? Because otherwise we end up in a very convoluted situation when there are incompatible contracts in our blockchain which couldn't execute on one VM build, but could execute on another VM build, and that I think gonna lead us to some form of like a network fragmentation, and it's gonna be artificial.
I don't think we can actually deprecate anything, and like once feature is shipped, we cannot drop it. So pretty much like when we introduce a new host method, we always have to support it. Like we can fail at the runtime, as we did originally for storage iterations, but I think since we are on mainnet right now, I don't think we can ever like stop behaving for any of these methods, because there's a contract that non-upgradable and cannot really be changed. So we cannot break the behavior of the contracts unless they are abusive for the protocol. So the example there can be, if you find some fee is like super low and the contract actually uses this, we should still try to like keep the contract working. But if we cannot, then this is the only case when we will break it. So in this case, like we will never deprecate any of the methods that we introduce and do not change the behavior of the methods. So that way, adding new features, pretty much once they leave nightly into a regular protocol, it's considered finalized. And they are not gonna disappear from the protocol ever again. So in this case, we only need to support upgradability forward and not deprecation.
Yeah, right. But my main question was about how we expose that, not the mechanism of like how we deprecate or non-deprecate. It's mostly like how we expose. So because I think the current situation is that we cannot, for example, if we add a new extension contract which appeared, we can't execute such a contract on older version of VM. We couldn't even link it on it, even if it's not used, just linked. So yes. I mean, this model just shown to be pretty successful for for kernel userland interaction mechanism. So operating system just expose like fixed set of system calls, and indeed, as you said, usually once it's exposed, and it's very rare, almost never downgrade, but it's still it doesn't mean that you're not forced. You decide which set of system calls are available, not through linking mechanism like what we have, but through the runtime dispatch mechanism, which can be flexible.
Well, I don't think there is a problem with like linking or like running on the old VM, because well, given a protocol version, we can construct the old VM, but there is no such thing as a new contract running on the old VM because it cannot make it to the old VM. So your contract either incompatible with the current protocol version, or it's compatible with the current and future. So the problem would be like you have this feature on testnet, but not yet on mainnet. So you try to deploy this contract on mainnet and it fails, which is reasonable. But in your scenario, when you use syscall, you basically can still deploy it on mainnet. It will work, but fail at the runtime instead of failing at the compilation time. Well, not compilation, but linking time.
Well, yeah, but linking time is a runtime as well. it's just
well, yeah,
different
it's just
moments
like
of the runtime.
If it's linked, it will start to execute, call something from the like through precompile syscall, but will not make it to actual execution. Like it will fail at the runtime later instead of like at the beginning of the function call.
Yeah, it depends on
non-syscall.
Yeah, but my main point was that even currently our system our like function we expose to contracts are we have already very long list, and the API is very like rich. It's not like basic 2-3 operations like for example read write open, but we have very tricky, very complex operation. And I think if we're going to survive like for, I don't know, for 10 or for 20 years, it's very unlikely that we won't have some mechanism of like deprecating features eventually. We just, I think we just believe that if our time span is 3-5 years, then yes, we may never deprecate things. But I think practically speaking, we may want to do deprecation mechanism, and so just more flexible approach just would make it simpler. So just an opinion. I guess it's
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's shift to the next meeting, and we can discuss this in contract runtime.
Yeah, so I think technically contract runtime is in 30 minutes, but I can do it now if no one else want this time slot.
Well, we have
yeah, there's no interfaces.
Okay.
I'm sorry. We can rearrange next week if needed. Interfaces can go first.
No, it's typical that like in this time slot I have bi-weekly meeting with Wasmer, so that's the reason why I asked.
Do you still have it? Nikolai, do you still have it?
Okay. Yes, it's a bi-weekly. It happened on last week, but not on this one.
Got it. Yeah, let's have just 1 minute break and I will start. Hello everyone, we are ready to start our Node Interfaces Sync work group. And I had prepared some notes here and we'll go through them and also have more comments from for specific items. So first and the biggest chunk of work that was happening last week and progressing this week is our work on structured errors for near core, JSON RPC, view client, it touches Rosetta RPC, indexer. So it's quite a core change. We introduce a lot of, we are moving around a lot of stuff. Bogdan, could you update us on what is the latest? And because I just
sure. I guess the best words you have mentioned, like we're moving around and almost the entire near core. So I guess we're almost in the final review iteration. It's currently some tests are failing, especially I guess I have fixed everyone. Instead of sanity check, it's talking about something strange I don't know how to fix. So Vlad, I will ask for your help. I'll like to have a look. If you're fine with my approach of fixing tests for ZRPC and the indexer, I guess it might be called like a final iteration, and our plans is to merge like this first iteration, first step, just to find like our understanding, our realizing that this is how we want things to be done, and then we can ask Sergey for help, and we can just speed our moving. Speed up our moving. So, oh yeah, and I just realized that I forgot to introduce RPC block response. So if it is worse to be like in this current iteration, then I'll propose to postpone, or otherwise it will be added in the next step.
Yeah, so, let's make it happen just to make sure that we have a final version of the design. Just to mention, this proof of concept means essentially that we only implement, we only try to fix one single endpoint, which is blocks, getting block information. And it required us to move a lot of primitives around. We extracted some structs from near chain, near client, and a few other places into a dedicated crate with the prefix primitives. So instead of putting everything of that into core primitives, we created a lot of small crates just with those small primitives to avoid already a heap of a growing heap of our primitive crates, primitive crate. It is going to be increasing the maintenance cost a little bit, given that we introduced more crates, but it will resolve dependency hell and hopefully will make our structure better.
Yeah, and I want to add that we have made in this pull request a huge step of like making more smaller core primitives by moving the RPC related structs to separate, create JSON RPC primitives that was introduced here, and we have grabbed one small piece from core primitives. And I think that's beautiful.
Yep.
Just for this.
it looks much cleaner and straightforward. It's easier to reason about what kind of errors could happen. So it's a huge step forward for a up layer future. And we started with this proof of concept just to have a smaller scope of the work. And after we land it, we will be able to distribute the refactoring work among more people. Potentially, we have a few team members joining us, so we will see how it progresses. But it's great when we can just scale the development. Yeah, moving on to the next item, we had some minor but still very important work and fixes for near indexer for Explorer. We released a new version with a bug fix from last week, and I'd like Bogdan, do you have any update on the state of
sure.
whether it's synced?
Yeah, it already synced. It was synced like quite fast on the mainnet. Unfortunately, I haven't looked at the testnet, so I'm not sure there. As for these fixes with the other fixes, I mean, not this access keys one, because it was already synced and ready to be tried out. As for the fixes currently selected on your screen about missing indexes, we have a small like inconsistent there. So when we have finished all the work on the 2.0 version of indexer, we have squashed all the migrations we have been made so far, but the database we're currently using was migrated by this bunch of separate migrations. And yeah, and the table with the list of migration doesn't really know about our squashing stuff, so it needs to be fixed manually, but I'm like afraid to do it on the production, so I want to test it out on the local machine just to rehearse it. So it's just like a remark, small remark.
Okay, yeah, sure, makes sense. Yeah, you may take a look into whether they have fake migration like it was in Django.
I believe so. So I have once seen this stuff, so I guess it's something similar, and it should be easy to fix.
Cool, great. So, and the last point that was essentially done last week that we completed is we defined our OKRs for Node public interfaces and Explorer teams. They are not published yet. I mean, not available to public, and we have it under plans to publish OKRs and wrote like in the form of like our just a list, and also define the roadmap on GitHub to track specific technical issues that we want to address under the specific goals that we want to accomplish. As to the plans, I still want to expose this JSON RPC method to fetch receipt info. I will base my pull request on this proof of concept work, and hopefully it works. And Bogdan will keep working on structured errors. Once we land the proof of concept, we'll need to onboard more people and also have, I guess it will be in form of like documentation and just following the design along the way. So hopefully it's not going to take long to onboard people in the future. It should be straightforward. You essentially now don't need to deep dive into view client and to understand what's going on and where to put the structures, because I struggled a lot with where to put my types when I wanted to implement them for RPC. And now we have near JSON RPC primitives create, which is reused for JSON RPC server and JSON RPC client. And finally, we resolved the dependency held there, and it's more straightforward to work with. And the last point from the last week, we had, I mentioned that there was a partner request to have indexer binary to push some data into a streaming database. But once I clarified and reviewed this request, they seem to be fine with our near indexer for Explorer implementation, since they already have Postgres set up on their end, and it's a matter of just running near indexer for Explorer for them, or as an initial proof of concept, we may even give them access to our Postgres instance, read-only access as usual. So that's all from my side. Do we have anything to discuss? Oh, well, another discussion that I've heard but haven't really had a chance to double check is the compilation errors on indexer and near core as well. Like somebody in community, I forgot who exactly, Mintbase or Flux, had issues recompiling.
I guess it was Flux.
Yeah, I guess Flux had issues recompiling their own indexer after this breakage with private APIs and
sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, go
they have announced the update for their Flux capacitor. So maybe it means that they have dealt with that.
I hope so. It was a very weird case when a correct pin dependency for to use older Syn and Serde ended up essentially crashing Rust compiler due to excessive use of RAM. It was using more than 16 gigs of RAM to compile the binary, the final binary. I didn't have bandwidth to look further, but it was very weird to observe. And given that our indexer and our near core compiles just fine, I could not really come up with any guesses what could cause the discrepancy there. Okay, if you say that they published a new version, it might mean
yeah, I'm not sure they haven't said anything about it, but at least they published new version, and it was announced in the community channels in Telegram and in our channel Indexer in Discord as well.
Cool. And that's all from my side. It seems like there are no other questions, so I guess we have 10 minutes break before the next work group sync. So see you next week.
Bye, everyone.
So shall we get started earlier, or we shall wait till like 7 minutes? In opinions.
I mean, we can start early. The problem is that other people have not joined, but I mean, we can just talk.
Okay. Let's wait for them then. And in the meantime, I'll.
Well, I mean, we can talk about other stuff in the meantime if you want.
Oh, sure. It's a good idea. Actually, I'll share the status screen. Just. Okay.
Yeah, so actually, maybe Nikolai, if you can talk about how you want to do deprecation, if you have any ideas, this might be.
Well, you see, it's actually I think in a sense, smart contracts are similar to other to other form of software. So so generally, software has pretty well defined, how do I say, deprecation story, and I think we can we can follow things like, I don't know, like what Apple does, for example, where when they switch underlying architecture. So in a sense that they for some time they provide the emulation layer for running all the software, and they give people like vendors some time to recompile the contract or programs according to new reality. And I think in many cases it's practical, because most of important smart contracts are either especially if they require advanced features from our blockchain, they likely have like developers who actively maintain them. And in case of old contracts, I guess we can actually have it case by case. So because I think, to be honest, I don't believe that if we actually going to be sustainable and viable blockchain for a long time, that we will never ever deprecate anything. I just doubt that. It doesn't look feasible in general, especially considering how particular our interfaces are. They're not very if it had like three calls with very basic generic semantics, then it would be one story. And but considering that we have I don't know, like 50 or 70 calls with the very and few of them are already deprecated, in a sense. We just expose them, the enumeration APIs, for example, and we just not have a mechanism for saying that.
Well, I think there are two issues here. One is that currently there isn't really a good way for smart contracts to upgrade. Like the problem is, you said, right? Like if we deprecate something, then we need to give people time to migrate. But I mean, that's all fine, but people there needs to be a way to do it. And currently, I don't think there is actually a good way. At least I don't see that anyone actually doing that. And this is an issue that I think we should try to address, and because it is causing other problems. So, like for example, the staking pool contract that we're talking about, they need to be upgraded, but now we run into the problem like we don't know what's the best way to upgrade it, and if we cannot find a way to upgrade the contract, obviously you cannot deprecate the method, because then people just the contract would and I think another part that I guess related to this is that the upgrade I guess it's related to the upgrade, because you want to maintain your existing state. You don't want to your user data to be lost. But I guess that's just part of the upgrade process on how we want to do it.
Oh yeah, right.
Mhm.
Actually, one point.
Actually,
Sorry, Gary. I just want to add that indeed there is an additional aspect which is different in smart contract compared to regular software, is exactly the fact that we have like addressing for those contracts. But I think in case of near blockchain, unlike I don't know, Ethereum, for example, we're not content addressable, so it's probably at least in theory feasible. Yeah. So yeah.
I think, like, if we think 10, 20 years from now, like when we do the upgrade, we'll not likely support the same endpoint. We can just introduce a new VM that will have a separate method of imports. So I don't think we will ever deprecate methods anymore. I mean, at least not from imports, because we probably not gonna do. Like, if you look at Ethereum, and Ethereum actually did not deprecate anything. They broke stuff by like making fees more expensive or something like this a few times, but not really deprecated. And they also not adding new host methods very quickly. Like, all the host methods that they add are usually like precompiles, like, hey, a new curve, a new cryptography primitive. They're all pure and mostly like to offload the compute. So I'm not really worried about that we will grow it too big. At the same time, I don't really worry that we'll have to touch or deprecate anything, because they don't really like need to, like, I don't think we need new host methods or like deprecate host methods as frequent. Like, it's mostly gonna be cryptographic primitives that we'll have to do, and they don't really change the interface in which you take them. So I'm not sure we will save anything on this either. So I see one benefit of
right.
what you said regarding the syscall is basically you can start using it before the new Near SDK is published. So basically, if you want to manually introduce a call, you can, like this with Near SDK, you pretty much cannot issue a new precompile without a new version of Near SDK. But I don't really see it as a critical issue to not use this, especially like when you go to enums for method names, you kind of start to like, it's somewhat getting messy, like getting into space of like Ethereum, where you have this list of precompiles and you need to know the version of precompile to hit. There's not that many forks that gonna be that will like, hey, this feature exists, but this one does not exist. So they're also not really useful to like have them flipped. Yeah, but you can always fork Near SDK to like try a new feature. So I think this is how like the new curve, like Albion, there's a Near SDK local version that you still can compile and run on like your local node. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree that there is no like fundamental technical difference in either approach. It's maybe it's mostly about like taste and and like orthogonality of APIs, because you know there are like operating system, for example, like microkernels, where technically have only 1 or 2 system calls for everything, because they're all just like a send message. So the difference is what kind of message you're sending, and this this mechanism just intellectually attractive, I'd say. but yeah, I agree that probably in our case, considering how important stability is, maybe you're right. If we won't ever expose different set of features available to the contracts, then it probably gonna be okay. Or if our set is always
maybe in the
increasing,
future we'll need to introduce it when, I have no idea if it will ever happen, but like maybe we'll have some kind of dynamic runtimes, like on the same chain you may have like experimental features on or off. Probably not at the short term, but at this stage maybe it makes sense to do this at the runtime instead of linking time. So maybe your contract is like very smart and can like, hey, what's the protocol version? Oh, okay, then I'll use it. If not, I'm not gonna use it.
Well,
like
many
happens, right, on Python.
Yeah, not only in Python.
People write it like in imports, like Python 2 or Python 3. Oh, 3. Okay, cool.
Well, Python is probably the worst case because it's different language also. But I think many Windows programs are written that way. If you want to run it across the whole evolution, starting from from Windows 7 to Windows 10, then many people just probe if the particular DLL and particular import exist, and only then invoke. So just provide them ability to make executable startable and be able to probe for what can be used. But if for contracts we envision in our system, it's not important, then probably not.
Well, I guess another thing why it might be better if you would optimize for really small contract sizes, then single syscall is cheaper than for example 5 imports that you need or 10 imports that you need. Well, still I don't think we hit it this kind of optimization yet. So.
Yeah, definitely. It's yeah, most likely will indeed pay for all the bridge code in SDK. So not only the import itself, but also the bridge around it, because we usually have certain conversion logic which stays before the calling import. So because our SDK usually has higher level primitives than what it's actually exposed.
But it's stripped, right? It's still stripped out of this final binary. So it's gonna be cheaper.
Is it stripped? I don't think it's stripped because it has to be linked.
No, you don't need to. Oh, true. Yeah, probably. No, I think if you don't call this this import, then you don't need the near SDK part that imports it, or that calls it. So if you never use the import, it still imports it probably, but not using. Anyway, let's continue.
Yeah, the question is what is entry point before that? Okay, and anyway, yeah, it's purely theoretical maybe. Okay, so going back to our contract runtime story, we have merged IOCOST logic, merged Wasmer 1.0, thanks to Bo's effort, is mostly there. It's approved by everybody, and we just agreed that it may make sense to wait a little bit until Wasmer themselves will publish the new version, which contains a fix we requested them to provide about ability to see internals of of their code. But do you know if they have ETA on when it's going to happen?
No.
Okay. In theory, we could publish it as well, but I'm not sure if it's the right idea. Okay. This is so that's what has been done. Let me check if I have anything else in my records which I haven't wrote here yet. So yeah, nothing at least on my record so far. Okay, what we have in progress. The prototype of Cisco interface, which we were discussing. I mean, it's indeed just a prototype. We can just abandon it if it doesn't make sense. Also, there is a cost update. It hopefully fixes the problem with incorrect cost estimation, which Evgeny raised, namely when we compile the contract, it's too cheap on the mainnet. If we compare the previous cost with the existing cost, in most cost we are pretty much in a range of 1.5x, and in case of contract compilation, we are 5,000 times more expensive in per byte, and 3,000 times more expensive in the base cost. So hopefully this shall fix this problem.
I mean, I think I commented on. I mean, I replied to your comment. I don't. So the problem is that. Well, I understand that you increase the cost, right? But it seems to me that the time we spend on loading from the cache is it just feels too long to me. Like it feels to me that it shouldn't take that long to load from cache.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I think there are some cases that it takes more than 100 milliseconds to load it from cache.
Mm-hmm.
Which I mean, it feels to me that shouldn't be that slow.
It was like deserialization by Wasmer or something.
Yeah,
and I commented
Wasmer,
before that they use third bench, which is kind of doesn't work that well for like deep structures from our Borscht benchmark comparing to Borscht benchmark.
Actually, Boch has a code which adds Borscht-based serialization to Wasmer. So I guess one of the things we may want to do is to add Borscht serialization to our at least 0.17 and see if it fixes anything. But I think both result was that it's not too much changes the results of loading time, right?
So the cost estimate didn't change a lot, but the Wasmer's own benchmark is have like 20. One benchmark for loading cache is like 20 or 30% faster.
But okay, a runtime benchmark actually doesn't run it, like it doesn't hit this piece because it doesn't. Actually, it does. It should update function base. But our contract is really small that we run it against it, and basically the new param estimator, at least like when I was testing it, it was setting compilation cost to 0, like dynamic compilation cost to 0, because it was shifting it towards the deploy action.
Yes, it's a separate invocation of param estimator. So you need to invoke a param estimator with a special flag to measure the compilation costs.
But it's not compilation cost. It's about actual, when you have it on disk already compiled and you pull it from cache. So this is where we hit like 50 milliseconds. And the reason for this is we call, I think Bone measured that we call Wasmer deserialize artifact, which calls their sorted bench deserialize.
But that's not my point. My point is that the actual time, most of the time, is actually spent on the function load cache with, which I don't think that that's where the deserialization is done, right? That's simply loading from cache.
Cache with. No. I think it's not.
Well, if you look at the thing I posted, it's like there is a case where it spends 106 milliseconds just calling load cache with. And what's strange is that in the same block it calls the same contract multiple times, but sometimes that loading takes a long time, but other times it seems that the loading is fast.
But did you check how it breaks down between deserialization and just raw reading from the storage?
Yes. So what I meant is that load cache with simply loads from cache, right? It doesn't do any deserialization, or did I?
No, it does not. It does compiler from cache. So it transcodes the cached module to the transcode the artifact to a module.
Oh, so compiler from cache actually does some compilation.
Yeah, it's a Wasmer piece.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay. I thought load cache was simply load. Okay, I think I just misunderstood what this function does. Oh, I didn't realize this is a Wasmer function. I thought this is something we read ourselves. I see. Okay. Okay, yeah. And anyways, the most of the time is spent on the load cache with,
Okay, so
I thought it was deserialized. Okay. So
yeah, so load cache with it just.
Yeah, I don't actually understand what it does.
Well, it calls compile on the single backend. Yeah. But it gives you.
I cannot find an instantiation of compiler.
No, it calls from cache on this.
Yeah. But I cannot find
I cannot
find the instantiation of the
single pass backend or something.
So load cache doesn't do anything fancy. Just produce takes cache, which is an artifact, and an artifact is already read from storage, and then produce an artifact. So yeah, probably that's something we optimize.
But I'm looking at artifact inner. There is some like backend metadata that is thoroughly serialized.
Yeah, but
it's already deserialized. It's already deserialized once you get it.
Oh, I see. I see. Okay.
It's not deserialized in the sense that it's not raised to high level structure, but it's deserialized in the sense that it's read from the backing storage. So it's.
Okay, so basically you're saying there's nothing that should cause the slowness here.
Well, it really depends on the size of on the size of the contract we're talking about. So is it a big one?
Yes. So yeah, I don't know the exact size, but I mean the contract. I mean I can point you to the contract. Well, how large is it?
400 kilobytes.
400 kilobytes, yeah.
100 kilobytes is not large, actually.
But it has like a ton of logic inside, so maybe single pass is actually slow in this sense.
Well, but you see, it's at the serialization phase. It doesn't do any compilation at all. It just saves the machine code, so it doesn't matter how complex.
So where's this like from cache?
Yeah, where's the instantiation?
Like what is the
of
artifact? What is like from cache? Where's the like actual method that does this?
You see, so load hash with is called from load with backend and load with big backend.
Well, you need to find an instantiation of compiler because it's a trait. I cannot find an struct that actually instantiates the trait. Default.
Yeah. So that's I guess just a load, but I guess it's all end up in our cache.rs.
In our cache.rs compiler, but the problem. Okay. So single pass, I see single pass compiler. This is, well, I cannot find how it's implemented for single pass compiler because it seems to be.
So you see, currently it just use the current behavior is before we merge the pull request, which was pending for some time. You didn't have ability to take a look at that. It's about explicit compilation API, because I think what we have currently in master, it combines compilation and serialization.
So, right. So the problem, like, we can't do contract compile base in this config anymore because we don't need to do this at the runtime anymore. So this contract compile base and contract compile bytes within the X cost config has to be. Are you talking about this PR? Like that's on in your browser tab?
No. And that's I meant another one which I asked you to take a look. So let me say the number.
Yeah, I think I approved that one.
Oh, did you? Sorry, that's what I missed.
I think I did. Maybe I'm missing something.
Yeah,
like explicit compilation, I did approve.
Yeah. That's that was the one which I meant, because it's only part of the problem we need to fix, but definitely like important one. Okay, cool. So I guess once we implement that, indeed you're right, and probably it means that my cost update is premature because we need to invoke that on deploy phase explicitly. But don't we do that already? Anyone know if we don't we try to?
No, we don't do this. Yeah, I don't think we do this, because if we do this, then we'll need to update deploy action. So, I mean,
yeah, we currently only call it from run wasmer.
We probably like should merge it with the change of the config, so they should be enabled at the same protocol.
Oh, and by the way, regarding the protocol version update, that's actually I think it somehow changed since the last time I did. So now what is when we update the protocol version, when we update the cost, do we change the protocol version?
Yeah. So if you look at the PR that I replied with in the way we should do this, it should be similar to like introducing a new feature. So we introduce a new feature in nightly, and then we introduce a new, like there's a way that it's dynamically upgrade current config. If the previous protocol is this and new protocol is that, let's do the upgrade. It puts it into like memory in lazy, and then it stores the config. So it doesn't have an assumption what the previous config was, because it cannot be, it can be non-default. Instead, it only upgrades required field and copies all the rest fields. It's a PR number, 1 second. 3653. And this PR has like some basic logic. It doesn't have full work, but it also not done through nightly. 3653.
Update fees config. Yeah, I see.
So if you scroll to this runtime config lib, and I introduced a new feature called upgrade fees. We actually cannot see what you're looking at.
Oh, sorry. Let me, because I was sharing a different windows. So let me try to open the same tab in a different window. Can you see it now?
Yep. Yeah. So it has a basically from protocol version. It modifies from protocol version to take. Right. To take a Genesis protocol version, which is the config that we had in the past, because Genesis defines the default. Now we take the current protocol version, which is protocol version, and we say, is it after updating? So should we update the fee? If it's true, then we trying to pull it from lazy static, because it needs to be like, when we call it, we need to always return it. And if it exists, then we clone it. If it doesn't exist, we do the upgrade. So it calls, let's generate new upgrade fees. And upgrade fees is it's upgrading the config. So it creates a new record that copies from the previous record. So it basically replaces some actions, but keeps the other actions. For example, storage amount per byte is unchanged, and it only modifies items that we need. And it will only be triggered once the protocol is actually upgraded. So let's say we don't need to change EVM config there, then we're not going to change the EVM config if it would exist in the past. We just need to copy it. And probably I should rename this function from upgrade fees to like something upgrade fees, blah, like some map or something that like why we upgraded it, or some kind of feature name. Like give it the release name, config version name. So it's something that starts with A.
Okay.
So we should do the upgrade somewhat this way. And another item that is missing there is when we do gas price computation, we use two fields to compute how deep a receipt can go, like how many blocks it can live, which if all blocks are full, then inflation should go up. So we compute some kind of like exponential gas price increase. So with the new config, it's much cheaper, and it will basically create an issue there. It can overflow the like U50, U8, and some other problems.
Okay. So all in all, if I think if I understand correctly, this particular PR is a generic upgrade protocol mechanism, right? So it once it gets merged, we just essentially replace the upgrade fees function with whatever is the current new fees, right?
Well, it's not generic. It's for this particular case, but yes, we need to like change the config there. That's upgrade fees values to the correct, and then we probably should introduce deploy compilation at the same PR, because once the fee is upgraded, it should be behind the same feature. Because this change dramatically decreases the compilation cost from the runtime and moves it to deploy action, but like and
okay, then I think I will ping you once I get this upgrade PR, and we'll coordinate how to get it cool. Done. Okay, fine. So to finish with Sync, so also I kind of not sure what was the resolution with this scene dependency problem, because it seems it's a problem in anything what depends on scene create, being it directly or indirectly. So anything that use Borsch is essentially victim of this problem. So so what is the current resolution of this problem? Anyone knows?
So right now we pinned scene to a given version in cargo toml, and that temporarily resolved the issue because we just used the last non-modified version. So to properly resolve it and support future upgrades, we have to remove the spin, recompile, see what's breaking, upgrade the near core, fix the near core, I mean.
Yeah, right. But do you mean we pin it in near core crates or in Borsch crate?
I think we did it in near core, and Borsch was fixed to use the proper API. Maybe not. We should ask Roll on this. But we need to fix the breakage on near core. So there's outside of Borsch also, and near SDKRS also has the same issue. We use
because I saw this problem in not in near core at all. It was a problem in near SDK, and what kind of confused me that essentially it seems our CI for near SDKRS it doesn't run all tests, so it can be seen if you run cargo test all dash all, and it's but it's not visible, unfortunately, in just regular tests.
Near SDK also I haven't pushed it to master in near SDK. I only fixed the only one version, so we need to currently pin it in master as well on near SDK, so to unblock near SDK master. But I only basically did this to publish it, create a temporary patch to unblock people who use it. So it doesn't have any new features. It just version release.
It's a little bit unfortunate, and probably if we just fix it in Borsch, that probably will be the right thing, because nobody but Borsch, I think, uses scene.
No. Near SDKRS also uses scene.
Directly,
it uses it to parse macros. Yeah.
Okay.
To construct this contract. So we need to pin it on your SDKRS as well, temporary, until we upgrade the API to proper non-private, I guess.
Okay, cool. So thanks for giving information about that. Okay, cool. So I guess we're a little bit over time, even, so I'm pressing the commit button.
So what is the resolution on this issue with cache? With loading from cache?
With loading from cache, I think the resolution is we first need to look at what is the actual bottleneck. So Bo, will you be able to help like looking at what is a particular place where we have problem?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so actually I found the actual from cache implementation, but I cannot share my screen because someone else is sharing, I guess.
Oh, I can stop sharing. That's easy, but I also have it actually. That's not hard to see, but the problem is we need to understand why it's so slow, because from cache is pretty. Yeah, so you can share your screen if you want, but so generally,
I mean,
resolution is that we can work with like at least with Bo and myself on localizing the problem inside Wasmer, and then if we can fix it by changing serialization approach, we can use Bo work on using Borsch if it's indeed a serialization issue.
Well, okay. I mean, it might be because. Well, let me just quickly share my screen because what I found is I just looked inside Wasmer to see what the actual, because there's a lot of different layers of traits, and actually it appears to me this is the actual implementation of from cache, like in the innermost layer. So what this does is, I mean, at least I saw this on like bean code deserializes memory into the thing called cache image, and I mean bean code it's probably not as fast as Porsche, and it does something.
Yeah, but memory
else.
is super small. Memory is super small.
Oh yeah. The major
like this object seems to be like we don't really have this memory in there, so it should be
then yeah, I don't.
Small.
I mean, it obviously does something else that I don't quite know what it does, but I think it'd be helpful to understand what exactly is slow here. And
I guess we can if you just supply Bo with the reproducer, then he can take a look at that, and we can together once we have like a number to see what's the breakdown of costs. But it's called this function is called by function deserialize Wasmer if you're curious in our code.
Yeah, I know.
So yeah. Generally, this from cache just rebuilds the artifact from serialized implementation, and we need to understand why it's so slow. And if we won't be able to understand the problem, we can go and ask Wasmer team to help with that.
Okay.
As last resort. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So for the repro, for the repro, it's as I said, it's might be. I wonder whether you can simply try writing this this contract to storage and then loading again as a unit test like scenario. Because it seems to me that it doesn't really depend on the other environment, because this simply, this contract is doesn't depend, for example, doesn't depend on our state size. I mean, it's still the same contract.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And can you drop the wasm binary of that contract to myself?
Yeah,
and Bo?
sure.
So,
yeah.
So that we just it's probably would simplify further testing. Okay, cool. So I guess we'll keep investigating that and hopefully we shall have some resolution in at least like some more understanding in there too, if since the moment we have the contract compiled code. Okay, Cool. So then I guess we shall write up now. So we don't have any following meetings. So thanks everyone, and have a good day.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Max, can you stop sharing? I'll ping Max.